didn't hit, it sounded like a rock hitting a pond, didn't it?
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We'll reconvene an open session. We'll start with commissioner reports and comments. Vice President Baker, would you begin with comments, please?
Yeah, I'd just like to welcome everyone back. New year. I'd like to wish all the employees and actually all of the citizens of Washington County, hopefully they'll have their best year of their life for 2020. And also, I'd like to ask Sarah to give us an update on the Fort Ritchie Fund. I thought at one time I know it's diminishing fast, and I would like to know what we spent money on here recently. What's the expenses been the last few months, and how much is remaining, and just give us a good overview and an update on that fund.
Can I provide that to you next week?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure.
And that concludes my announcements.
Commissioner Kiefer?
Okay, yes, thank you. Also, welcome back. 2020, I hope, will be a good year for us. And I'm not one for resolutions. I think resolutions are almost destined to fail from the day they're made. But I have a few goals I would like for us to maybe look at as we move forward in 2020 for us as a group of commissioners. And maybe over the next few weeks, I'll mention one or two each time. My goal I would like us to look at for 2020 that I'll mention today deals with closed session hours. I think we all ran on more openness and transparency in county government, but when I did an analysis of our agenda, just looking at our regular session agenda items, how much time we spend in closed session, which was scheduled in 2018, the last year of the prior board, we had 39 hours and 45 minutes of closed session time. And in 2019, we had 60 hours and 30 minutes. So that's a 52% increase in closed session time. So I would like to see if maybe we could cut that back. We do the people's business, and I think the people is privy to more information than what we give them at times. And I would just like to see if maybe we can limit that closed session time. I know there's certainly some things that are important that do need to be discussed in closed session, obviously, but I think from time to time we discuss things that personally I would like to see, and I've mentioned before in emails that I would like to have discussed in open session. We do the people's business, and again, we kind of went backwards. We increased closed session time by 50%, more than 50%. So that'll be the first goal I would like to mention for today. So that's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Court Schmidt.
Just wish everybody a happy new year. I've got no real comments. Thank you.
Yeah, same here. Just Happy New Year. Only problem, I don't disagree with Commissioner Kiefer except on one point. I don't want to air personnel matters, and a lot of that we discuss is personnel, and I don't think any personnel with the county or otherwise would want their private business, aired out here, because we get in some pretty good discussions sometimes. But maybe there is some things we can take a look at to bring out here, but it definitely, in my opinion, wouldn't be direct personnel. And I think, anybody that's ever worked somewhere realizes how sensitive personnel matters can be. Thank you.
Just if I could clarify, I said there are certainly reasons why we do need to go into closed session. Personnel matters certainly is a reason, and we know that gets out accurate and inaccurate information. But certainly personnel matters should remain private. We talk a lot about money issues in closed session. That is mainly where I'm looking.
All right, thank you.
Thank both your commissioners. I'd first like to just commend the Crumpy's Donut Drop, combination of Maryland Theater, City of Hagerstown, and Crumpy's. We were even mentioned on the Weather Channel for our New Year's Eve event. I just want to add to the comment about closed session. I agree with both commissioners, but seemed like we had a lot of scandals and investigations last year, so that might have been the reason for the doubling of the hours. So with that said, we'll start with our
Scandals.
You can comment back, but we did have several investigations which led to internal time. So just basing it on time may not be as accurate, but your comments about money and personnel issues are right on mark, and it's never wrong to review those standards. So I'm in agreement. All right, with that being said, we'll go to reports from county staff. County staff. Krista, you're up, first of the year.
Commissioners, we have several appointments for the Commission for Women, several requests, and I'll just read through them all as one. We're looking to appoint all as at-large members. Amy Miller to serve through November 30th of 2022. Jillian Potter and Chetsoni Brooks to serve partial terms through November 30th of 2021. Shalita Jackson and Kelsey Munchin each to serve partial one-year terms through November 30th of 2020. Additionally, they would like to reappoint the following at-large members: Karen Gist to serve through September 30th of 2022. Barbara Martin to serve a second 3-year term through September 30th of 2022. Jessica Scott to serve a second 3-year term through October 31st of 2022. And Michelle Sines to serve a second 3-year term through November 30th of 2022.
Commissioners,
Motion to approve the appointments.
is there a second?
Second.
First and second, any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Krista, I know I've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails about the Veterans Commission. Do we know when we're gonna be, I guess, commencing that board?
Yeah, I think you're right now compiling the list with categories they apply to, similar to when we did the
Still working
diversity.
with Teresa to get the other members that are required to get those interests.
I
So, yeah, hopefully
repost on Facebook because I had several people inquire about your numbers, so it's right there for
we
everybody.
received a lot of applicants.
Very good.
Yeah, it's looking very good.
All right, any other staff reports? County
Leslie.
Administrator or Leslie, please come forward.
You're running just a little bit ahead. I was hustling across the hall. Good afternoon. Leslie Hart, Washington County Department of Business Development. Happy New Year, Commissioners. It is snowing outside. Very exciting. I love it.
I wouldn't get that excited.
We're safe. We're not driving. We have to be very careful when we drive. I just wanted to share with you again this year. This is the 3rd year that we will be celebrating Groundhog Day in Washington County. This is an event that started 2 years ago, and this is our 3rd year. We have outgrown our space, and we have had to move the location to the Washington County Agriculture Education Center located on the Sharpsburg Pike. The date is January 31st, and the event will run from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock p.m. Many people think about our local agriculture as being seasonal and not having local products in the wintertime. So this event showcases local agriculture. There will be 22 local farms, breweries, wineries, and even a caterer, and several food trucks. And they will all be showcasing local Washington County products that are grown and raised right here. So you can expect things like, I know there will be honey, there will be corn muffins, there will be Angus beef, there will be pork, there will be, it's a little out of Washington County, but I know there'll be a crab feature by one of our food trucks. Everything about Groundhog Day is already posted on our Facebook page for the county. A large digital marketing and advertising campaign is happening right now, and tickets are available on Eventbrite. And they run $17, $15 if you come 5 people or more, $20 per person online through Eventbrite. I encourage you to come. We even added an acoustic band this year, which is the Kramer Brothers, which is with Tim Haynes, and that has a large local following. So I hope you can clear your schedule January 31st, and thank you for your time.
What's the start time again?
5 o'clock.
AM?
Oh, come on, Jeff. 5 p.m.
Very much.
I'm up at 5 o'clock. I'm
You're
not
up
sure
looking at a
everybody else
shadow.
is.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Have a great day and travel safe.
Thank you.
Is there any other staff report or comments? All right, if the commissioners like, we can go to the revised demolition permit review policy. We're a few minutes ahead. If everybody's okay with that, we can begin. Pardon me? Oops, excuse me. Citizens participation, I crossed it off wrong. Anyone here for citizens participation? Seeing none, let's move forward to the revised permit review policy. Thank you for the correction.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
So as many of you probably recall, in November of last year, we presented the county commissioners with some proposed changes to the demolition permit review policy as it pertains to historic structures. These are being requested and proposed by our Historic District Commission as a result of recent demolition activity of historic structures in the county. In your packet, I have provided you a very simplistic overview flow chart of the current and proposed demolition permit process. Very briefly, to remind you, when a permit is applied for in Washington County for the demolition of an historic structure, as it's listed on the Maryland Historic Trust's Register of Historic Places, it has to go through Historic District Commission review. Typically, that can take up to 30 days, depending upon when the applicant applies. If they apply a week before the meeting, then they're only going to wait a week for the committee to look at that. So it's up to 30 days in that first look at the permit. Once the Historic District Commission reviews it, they may either object to the demolition, or they may have no objection. If they have no objection, we'll respond back to the permits office and tell them that we're okay with the demolition permit being issued, and that can be done within a matter of days depending upon other agency approvals. If the HDC is opposed to that demolition permit, it then goes to our Planning Commission for a review. That typically does take 30 days just because of the scheduling of the two meetings. So the Historic District Commission meets on the first Wednesday of the month. Our Planning Commission meets on the first Monday of every month. So because of the timing, that does typically take 30 days. The Planning Commission then reviews that demolition permit, and regardless of whether they are in opposition to or not in opposition to that demolition, the permit is issued. We don't have a process by which a permit will not be issued. So what we do during that 30-day period is we try to find opportunities to talk to the property owner to see if there's other options to the demolition or possible repurposing of materials that may come out of that demolition. What the Historic District Commission has found and are requesting here is a little bit more time to talk about that with property owners, which is the added process you see in the gold on the bottom half of this page, where it talks about once we get through the process, if there is still an opposition, either by the Planning Commission or by the Historic District Commission, there's a request to add a 90-day period for review, whereby people from the historic groups can talk to the property owner and again try to find other options or at least a repurposing of materials or something along those lines. After that 90-day period, if there is no resolution and a property owner still wishes to demolish the structure, that permit would still be issued. Again, contingent upon other agency approvals. The only other agency that typically sees this is Maryland Department of the Environment for things like asbestos and things like that. They want to review that. In addition to that change in that process, there was another issue that was brought up that the Historic District Commission would like to see, and that is an increase of the fine for premature or illegal demolition. Essentially, they would request that the fine would be raised to $1,000 from the current $100 fine that's in place. They would also request that if a property owner prematurely or illegally demolishes an historic structure, that the property owner would not be allowed to submit an application for new permits on the property for a period of 1 year. So those are the two issues that are in front of you today. I don't really have anything else further to add to that, so I'm happy to answer any further questions or help you decide which direction you would like to go with this process.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
The fine would be imposed if demolition were to occur within that 90-day wait period, or if demolition were to occur
within that 90-day
just
period.
within that 90? Okay.
Because the theory would be that the permit would not be issued yet.
Wouldn't it be in the 150 days, not just the 90 days?
Well, with any time within or before that 150-day period, yes.
What'd you say about a year? I missed that.
The request from the group would be that, not in addition to the fine, that the property owner, if they did prematurely or illegally demolish a historic structure, would not be permitted to submit an application for new permits on the property for a period of 1 year.
So if I tore down a historic building in the first 30 days, I'd get a $1,000 fine, or 90 or 150 days, and then I wouldn't be allowed to do anything with the property for another year?
That's the proposal in front of you, yes.
And which properties are we talking about as far as being classified as historic?
They are on the Maryland Historic Trusts, their national, or excuse me, not national, their local registry of historic structures that was done in the 70s and updated through into the 90s. So that has been delineated. It is been used for years now. So there is a
Probably
list
most of the
structures.
properties in the county aren't included.
Correct.
Question, say there's a historic property, torn down, violation, but you have your 1974 brick rancher that you want to put a carport. Are you inhibited from any work on that property, that building?
It says new permit, so that, yes, that would be their,
So you couldn't put
They
a
are
new
respectfully-
carport or an extension?
No, but it's only new permits on
permits.
that building that you tore down.
they said new permits. So I would expect that they would want permits halted on the property altogether as a formal deterrent.
Well, the way it reads says new permits on the property. So if I tore down a property over here, I could still get a permit over a property.
If they're,
over here.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Did you mean separate properties? If they're on two separate?
What if there's a 1974 brick rancher on the same parcel that there's an historic small barn structure?
I'm
with-
sorry. I misunderstood that question. I apologize.
Okay,
No, I don't think that would necessarily be what we're saying there. I think what they're trying to do is just deter the demolition of a structure to build a new one. I think that's the primary goal here. So we don't want you to tear down a structure that's already on the property without a permit just to build a new structure on the
Why
property.
then would you impose a 1-year penalty on something? Where would that be targeted to?
To the new construction. So let's say you,
If you want to do new construction of an addition
Yeah.
on an existing, another house on that parcel.
I think, again, it goes to if there's two structures on a property, which is sometimes it does happen. I don't think that the direction was to halt permits on the second dwelling that's in use.
That would have
It
to be
was-
in writing to be,
Yes,
Clear
we can
that.
clarify that for sure. Again, if you're so inclined. This is really a proposal for you to do with, if you think there should be changes to this, or if you don't agree with parts of it. This is really for you guys to kind of determine what you feel is best for our community based upon the recommendations handed today.
I serve on the Historical Advisory Committee, and I know this is an issue that's been talked about quite a bit for quite a while, actually. I'm in support of what's being presented here, and I would certainly be okay with that clarification of, looking at the structure that's being torn down, not an ancillary structure that might be on there. I think it strikes a rather fine balance between property rights and respect for historic structures. We're not issuing a blanket, no, you can't do this, never can, but it's just a way to maybe give a little more time for reconsideration of historic properties. I think some people would probably want to go a little further, but I think this is a nice balance. I would support what's presented.
Along with Commissioner Klein's recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's a fine point of clarification. I'll make that a motion if that's okay.
motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
First and second, discussion?
My only concern, I'm all right with it. I think the extra 90 days is a little excessive. I would prefer to see 60, because if you're already waiting 60, now we're, at 150, you're 5 months into doing something that you're just sitting there. I think that's a little excessive to my point. If somebody's waiting and it's going to be approved anyway, you can just sit there and say no, and waiting an additional 90 days. I
I think the reason for going to 90 days gives an opportunity for those discussions to take place about maybe alternatives that could be respectful to both sides.
well, I understand that, but we've already had 60 days go by that they're starting that conversation, and then an additional 90. I think 150 gets a little. I think it.
Well, I think the conversation probably doesn't start the day an application is submitted.
Correct.
So.
I agree. I think 150 days is a little excessive, but otherwise I agree.
The discussion I would have is, it doesn't set real well with me, only because we put enough restrictions on people's property. We put a lot of restrictions just in zoning alone, which is fine. It's designed to make things balanced and stable. But I'm putting myself in that position. I think it's a problem that I've asked for a couple examples, and they go back 20 years was one that was tore down. What was the one out on 40 was tore down? That's still haunting people, which, okay, that wasn't done properly. Go in there at midnight and tear a house down. And then the one we just had, Kiefer Funk, maybe, is that the
Manor Church.
Manor Church? The Planning Commission unanimously said that go ahead and demolish it, tear it down. So that was our Planning Commission that supported the demolition of it. If I buy a property and I got to wait 150 days or 140 or 130, and then it means a lot because I want to build another home, and then all of a sudden now I'm going to be penalized a year, and I can't. Man, that's a financial hardship and a quite a restriction put on somebody that's a citizen and worked all their life to buy a piece of property. Now, I'm pro-historical, but I'm not going to put those kind of, me personally, I'm not going to put those kind of restrictions on the private citizen on their own properties. I didn't think what was written in now is that bad. I don't think the $1,000 is going to stop anybody from tearing one down, just like $100 doesn't stop anybody from tearing one down. I don't know what the answer is. I would like to see an example before I even gave it any more thought of how many times this has been violated in the last 20 years. I bet it's not been that many times where people went in at midnight and tore a house down. I would like to see that information, because if this is not a huge problem and it only happens every once in a while, in my lifetime, I can't even think of where it's been in the newspaper more than 2 or 3 times. So maybe I'm wrong.
I think to your point, Commissioner, since it happens so infrequently, as you mentioned, what's the harm?
The harm is I've still put restrictions on people's property, and we do enough of that as
Not
it is.
forever, just time for consideration.
My only thought is you're right. Are we going to increase the time that it happens because somebody was willing to wait 60 days to get a permit, but now they got to wait 150 days to get a permit? That's my.
It won't happen with all of the properties. It's going to be, as Randy said, far and few.
Well, we don't. The thing is right now it's at 60 days. I have no problem waiting 60 days, but do I want to wait 150 days? That's
The
my
year bothers me too.
I may interrupt. I'm not in support. I think it's adding additional regulations. You can add the extra 90 days, but if we're not going to add cash incentives, I'd like to see more of a program come forward where there's some type of incentive program, relief of taxes or things like that. I think you're just going to add to more unintentional neglect and demolition by someone not wanting to buy that property.
Well,
Let me finish, then you can add. I'm okay with your commenting. I'm just not in support of it. I'd rather see more incentives, not in favor of more regulations. And please add your comment.
well, it's not a new regulation, but what I would say, our historical advisory committee and our planning department, Jill Baker and her predecessor, Steve Goodrich, have worked really diligently identifying all of the tax credits that are available, and they're putting together a very nice brochure. So that is something that's being pushed too as well. The tax credits are
60
important.
days already.
Can I
Why,
finish
how are
my
you going to be able to do it?
comment
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, pardon me.
And I guess Commissioner Monoschmidt, if maybe there's an opportunity to negotiate down that 150 days, is there a timeline that you think would be meet in the middle?
Well, my comment for that is if you got incentives already, you can't do it in 60, how are you going to do it in any more days?
Yeah, I understand that.
Not there to influence someone.
I would like to see, I guess I'd like to see what would be what the historic commission would be. I look at, because I think 90 days is excessive for going to 150. Yes, I would look at something at a much lower or a much lower number.
Commissioners, we have a, go ahead.
I would want to see what the Historic Advisory Committee, I mean, they want 90.
They're recommending this, yeah.
It's still gonna come back to us for a number of acceptable days, so we could solve all this right now.
But if they're saying 90 and that's what we're at, then I'm a no.
What would you be a yes at?
I don't know. I need to go over this. I think 90 days is excessive. I'm not willing to say a number, a date at this time.
Should we keep the 60-day review period?
What it currently is?
That's what it currently is.
I mean, currently, I'm all right with that, but if there's some way to looking at other things, I'm amendable to things. I'm not 100% no on this, but I'm not, as the way it is, I'm a no.
Was the year always there? The year of
So
no
that's-
permit?
That's the proposal as a deterrent for premature demolition. That's really all that's for, and it's, and you are correct, there has not been all that many, there have been some significant, structures that have come down in quote-unquote the middle of the night, that have, more or less, had an impact on our historic resources, but they are far and few between. And I think that's part of the reason that the committee has recommended that that year is to be a deterrent, not necessarily wanting to be a penalty, but a deterrent.
And what does the Planning Commission, how do they feel on this?
This has not been presented to the Planning Commission, because it's the Historic District Commission that is sort of.
I understand, but right now in the
responsible.
process, after 30 days, the Planning Commission reviews it. So I was wondering just what their,
We can always go back and take that to the Planning Commission.
This,
I'll
this,
withdraw my motion for the
That's
time
my
being.
next question. Mr. Kiefer, officially withdraw your motion and bring this back for further discussion with the additional information?
I just did, yeah.
Okay.
I just had one more comment. Is this flow chart you presented us, is that how you normally, forget the bottom, does it flow right to the historic district from application for demolition permit?
Yes.
That's how it
You're
currently
the
is.
first contact, yes.
Gotcha, okay.
so the way, in your example, that first 30 days could go, and it could be 5 days if,
Correct.
and so they could end up, the Historic Commission, they have 30 days review at that point.
It could be, basically, we put out agenda packets a week before the meeting. So as long as that permit was applied for within a week before the meeting, they might have 7 days worth of review.
And so then they look at that,
And then they,
and then if they oppose it, it goes to the Planning Commission.
Correct.
And that's a minimum of 30 days.
Yes.
Okay. Depending on when the Historic Commission review and the Planning Commission review, could it be more than 30 days? Or do they meet on the same day?
they meet on the same week,
Okay.
so.
So it could be 32 or 33, but it could also be 27 or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. I was just trying to get a clarification.
Joe, when you return, bring that list of incentives that may have been proposed or available for any historic credits or.
The tax
taxes,
incentives, yes, sure.
When I say cash, I meant tax incentives,
Absolutely.
grants and other programs is what would be more accurate in my statement. That way we can see how we can incentivize the effort as well. All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you all.
Nice discussion. Next up, solid waste credit card fee. Sarah? Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer, here with Dave Mason, Director of Solid Waste. We're here today because a commissioner in late October requested that the county look into accepting credit cards at the landfill as a convenience to our customers. The Office of Budget and Finance has worked closely with the Department of Solid Waste to find a cost-effective solution to do this. With the added option of paying with a credit card, there is an associated fee. So we are here today to request that the commissioners approve a 2.5% convenience fee for credit card payments at the landfill. One reason for this request is the fact that the landfill is an enterprise fund. And if expenses increase, then that could mean potential rate increases for other services. Many of our customers at the landfill already pay with cash or check, or they're on an account, and they are accustomed to that. And we would encourage our customers to continue paying in that manner because it is the most cost-effective manner. One of the other things to consider is that accepting credit cards at the landfill at the scale will increase wait times slightly. So that's another reason why we would hope that our customers would continue to pay with cash or check or on account, but we would have the ability to process a credit card if that was the only means available for that customer to pay. Currently, when we have customers that only have a credit card or a debit card, they utilize a nearby ATM machine. So the 2.5% convenience fee would be much less than that ATM fee that they may currently pay. For example, a 2.5% fee on a minimum charge of $10 equates to about 25 cents. $50 charge would be about $1.25 of a fee that they would incur to pay with their credit card. The solid waste fund does probably $6.8 million in revenue between tipping fees and permit fees annually. So, even if our customers begin to pay with credit cards of $1 million a year, let's say, that would still be a hit of about $25,000 if we were to absorb those fees. So that's why we're here today asking to pass those through.
How many, you say you take checks, overdrafts, how many overdrafts does the county get a year?
Oh.
Could it
I'm
be
not
10
sure.
or could it be 3,000 or?
I'm not sure.
I brought this up in the beginning because someone was turned away with a debit card and they had to go to Frederick. They called me to a landfill that accepted credit cards. I'm thinking, are we that antiquated? We're going to pull up there with a hammer and a stone and chisel out some money like Flintstones? But I just think we have to do it. I mean, it's just.
Now, we never turn anybody away and tell them to go to Frederick. We refer them to the closest ATM, or if they can find a check.
That's what they told me, and I know because they were working at a place I was at. So, and I don't dispute that. You go down to Sheets ATM and you get your money, but that is such an inconvenience. It's bad enough. But I don't. If we're collecting a fee, I think I don't. It's okay with me. I mean, I think we need to accept debit cards. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
And the fee is just to recoup the cost that we're going to be charged to accept the
God
credit
knows what
card,
our
so.
overdraft problems are. We're paying somebody to get the money. We're calling the bank, and half the time we're not getting it anyway. So how much do we lose in overdraft fees? With checks, I think, we're not going to lose nothing with a credit card. I'd love to know what the figure was on overdraft, on bounce checks.
I can look into that.
I bet that's astronomical. So anyway, that's all. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you looked into it, Dave and Sarah. I really am.
Commissioners,
you.
any other comments, thoughts? A recommended motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Excuse me, opposed? 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much. Hey, I would like to see the overdraft numbers and
Sure
costs.
thing. I'll get that for
Year or two in a row or something. Okay, thank you. Next up, property acquisition for widening of Eastern Boulevard. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good afternoon, Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator. Property acquisition for widening of Eastern Boulevard. Move to approve the option agreements for partial and full property acquisition, including fee simple and/or easements for Eastern Boulevard, tax ID 180455958, and Eastern Boulevard, tax ID 180300810, and to approve an ordinance approving said purchase and authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the two above stated properties. Both the fee simple and easement acquisition are shown in the table below. Properties were appraised and property owners were offered an accepted fair market value for the acquisitions. First property, Eastern Boulevard, tax ID or map 038, parcel 898, 0.9047 acres. That's a full take of that parcel. Acquisition cost $50,000. Then the second parcel, Eastern Boulevard, tax map 38, parcel 859, fee simple area 9,783 square feet. 3 easements, 811 square feet temporary construction easement, 9,190 square feet revertible easement, and 334 square feet perpetual drainage easement. That acquisition cost us for $7,000. Eastern Boulevard will be widened from 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction from Jefferson Boulevard, Maryland 64, to Antietam Drive, and the construction will occur in several phases of work as indicated in the capital improvement plan.
Commissioners, comments?
Make motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. I just have a question, Todd. Would you maybe be able to bring in a list of maybe the properties that we've purchased easements for to date, and maybe what that total cost might be just for this project, Eastern Boulevard? Certainly know it's needed.
I can provide you that cost right now as far as phase 1, as far as phase 2 and 3, what I've been working on. So acquisition costs, this also includes a relocation of a house, all settlement fees, to date, 2 and 3, $341,000 and $353.
Okay. Is that including this, or?
I did include those numbers, but the settlement fees, of course, aren't included in that, but the acquisition fees here are included in that. Thank you.
Thank you. They come into us little by little, and those
Yes.
amounts do add up.
Yep.
Okay, any more discussion? We have a first and a second. Hearing no more, motion to approve. Excuse me.
No.
All in favor? to
Aye.
approve, Say aye. Thank you.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Todd.
You're still here, aren't you?
Yep, welcome back. State your,
All right, Todd Moser again here for declaration of surplus property, the Greens at Hamilton Run. I've brought this prior, but this is actually to declare it as surplus property. Move to adopt the ordinance declaring the property consisting of 11.667 acres of land to the west of Pangbourne School and to the south side of Westwood Street, approximately 985 feet southward from the Hagerstown-Smithburg Highway or Jefferson Street, election district number 22 as surplus property, and approve the conveyance of same to the city of Hagerstown for the use at the Greens of Hamilton Run Golf Course, and authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the conveyance. The Board of County Commissioners have previously approved the acceptance of the Board of Education property consisting of the 11.667 acres to the county, then to be conveyed to the city of Hagerstown for the use at the golf course. So the property has been conveyed from the board to the county as of today. The Board of Education has completed the conveyance of 11.667 acres. Prior to the county conveying the property to the city of Hagerstown, the property must be declared surplus property. The Interagency Committee on School Construction, ISE, has approved the conveyance of land to be used as a golf course. If the land ceases to be used as a golf course, the land would revert back to the Board of Education.
Motion to approve.
Second.
first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Motorola. Please introduce yourself and the subject.
Good afternoon, Tom Brown, Assistant Director, Emergency Management Communications. Brian Albert, Operations Manager. We'd like to move to accept the extended Motorola Solutions telephone support contract for the Emergency Communications Center. We need a formal vote to accept the telephone support contract with Motorola Solutions in the amount of $192,112.14, so the technical support for the telephone system within the Communication Center continues. On October the 8th of 2019, the Board of County Commissioners approved an extension of the support contract with Motorola Solutions for Vesta Communications telephone equipment in the amount of $162,925.89. On October the 29th, 2019, during staff comments, staff reported that the extension for the 12-month period would actually cost $192,112.14. That the entire cost could be paid from the Emergency Numbers Board system, or Systems Board, excuse me, which was approved by the board during the week of October 21st. Due to an oversight, there was not a formal vote by the Board of County Commissioners to approve the execution of the extension of the Motorola Solution Service contract, so we're requesting that today.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, have a second, is, pardon me, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Krista, anything else I have forgotten? If not, motion, we're going to go into adjournment. Convene at the City of Hagerstown,
At 3 o'clock, right?
3 o'clock.
Will we be provided with what this agenda item is? I didn't see
For
it
the
in my
city?
pack. For the city. I was kind of given a heads up, but no details to look at.
Second, motion to adjourn, is that what we need? Motion to adjourn, then we'll answer your question. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think we were provided an email.
Yeah, it was emailed from the city.